Hey, Wildcats, welcome back to the UAZ Podcast. My name is Rebecca and I have my colleague here with me.
My name is Seliat.
So this afternoon, we are really excited to have James. James is a clerk of supervisor at the court here in Tucson, and we're really excited to have him because we're going to learn so much from him. He's got so much experience. He was born and raised in Bisbee, Arizona. And he's a proud Bisbee High School graduate, which is really cool. And whereby he began public service very, very early, just after he graduated from high school and started at an entry level as an employee with the county clerk of supervisor in Phoenix in 2007. I feel like that's been a long time. Then afterwards, he completed his paralegal school here at the University of Arizona, a proud Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
Yeah, and then he relocated here to Tucson to join the Pima County Clerk's office. And he's been working in that department, I think now for how many years?
I'm working on 16 this year.
16 years.
Yes.
That's a lot. A lot of
Right,
experiences.
right.
So yeah, we're really excited to learn from that experience today. So to begin off with our first question, what really inspired you to join this journey?
So I think, I grew up in a very small town in Bisbee.
Yeah.
We had a very small population there, and I think that jobs were something that were somewhat scarce. And I think it was a time where it was who you knew, and how you got that. My family in Bisbee on both sides is multi-generational. We've been there since the early 1800s. So we were pretty known, right? But I just needed a job, honestly. I got out of high school, I started going to community college, I needed a little more. I was trying to make it on my own, and this job was available, and I applied for it. I had been working as a temporary worker for the county recorder at the time, so I had some experience with the county, and I was people knew who I was, and I was afforded the opportunity, and I seized it, and I was so happy that I did, because here I am today, so...
Yeah, that's great. So I'm just thinking, like, you've been in this office for 16 years. Isn't it boring to work in somewhere for 16
No,
years?
it is not.
Yeah.
So I've had a really quick trajectory. When I started at the office here in Pima County, it was in 2011, the very beginning of 2011, and I started as a courtroom clerk. So I was in court the majority of that time in my career, taking minutes and swearing in witnesses, being a part of that side of things, and I loved that job. And then I did that for 3 years, and then promoted to a supervisor of our criminal filing and payment windows. And that was my longest stint. I was there for 8.5 years, and I had 8 people that I supervised, which was a perfect amount of people for a kind of a new supervisor. I had a wonderful mentor in my director. He taught me a lot. He still teaches me. We still talk today. And he really encouraged you to grow and grow quickly, because he did. So I was also, after that 8.5 years, it was time for a change, and I became our public records director. So I was designated the custodian of records for that office.
Yeah.
I did that for 9 months before the previous clerk, Mr. Harrison, appointed me to be his associate, which is kind of his right-hand person to oversee the entire office.
Yeah.
And so all of that happened in a 14-year span. So it's been quick. So I haven't really had time to get bored, right?
Yeah.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, like, given the level of, like, the work that you do every day, and how sometimes, like, can be, like, challenging and sometimes rewarding as well. Sometimes you may be sitting and think, like, you may not even think through the time because everything goes by so quick, and you're handling so much things from the community, and yeah.
Yes.
That's good. So you started as an entry-level employee at the county clerk office, and you've been through several leadership roles up until now. So what's that thing that's kept you motivated all through this period, and how can students learn from your experience?
So honestly, the people have really kept me motivated. I think it's the people in the office, but also the people outside of the office. But my priority in those leadership roles was always the people that worked alongside me. I don't ever like to say that people worked for me. I don't like that term. I don't call them my staff. They are the staff that work for the clerk's office. So they always have been my motivation to be there to kind of guide them and show them that you can do this. If you want to be entry level for your entire career, I will support you in that journey on your path as well.
Yeah.
But if you want to become like a James in the situation, I will support you there too. So I think I really enjoy when young people come into the office, either fresh out of college or fresh out of high school, because they can be shown that it can happen, right? I can set that example for them and allow them to spread their wings and maybe be the clerk one day after I retire, of course. But
So. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you often see people do the same thing you did when you started as an entry level role? And like, how do you navigate it with them? Like, I know you're going through this phase at this time. What are those things you tell them to motivate them not to give up at the time?
So I am very honest and very open about my career path. I am honest and open about my failings and my successes. So when I do have staff that come in that are feeling those ways, I share with them and I try to resonate with them and I try to connect with them on the same level and say, you know what, I went through this too, and this is how I navigated this situation, and it's gonna blow over, but you just need to know how to navigate it, and I'm here to help you with that. Yeah. So just showing that example,
That sounds really good, because we young people, we usually look for someone that reassures us that it's fine to go through this phase, and I've been there too, but like, this is how you're gonna make it work. And yeah, that's really good.
I tell them, especially our younger staff members or younger people that are on wanting to come in and kind of have those failings. They're common in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
I was in my 20s once, not so long ago, and just sharing those experiences. But my goal at the end of the day, and I'm very upfront with that, is you need to learn from this. Don't just listen, don't just hear the words that I'm saying, listen to them, because you can get through this part of your life. It's just, it's a 50-50 thing, right? I'm helping, but you need to help me too, so.
And that's what most young people wants to hear, because when they go in so many spaces, sometimes they feel like they're out of space. And so if they have someone who understands them or someone who went through that same path, it does help a lot.
And that's what I try to do at the clerk's office. Is my thing is I want to give the staff what I never got in my career. So I'm really trying to focus on what did I want sitting in that chair that I never received. And it's no fault to the previous administrations. They didn't know, right? But I know. So we bi-monthly have a event called Coffee with the Clerk. That's an in-house. I set up in the break room. We do continental breakfast, and you can come in and tell me and talk to me and the executive team about anything. How's your family doing? Are you going on vacation? Do you have a work problem? Do you have like you said, setting up that space to allow them to come. I'm accessible. But we also, our executive assistant is there to set time on our calendar if it's something that needs to be explored a little more. And we've had such a great turnout with that actually other departments are kind of taking that idea. So it's great.
I was also thinking if there is something like that at the county level, if there's something like that at the city management level, maybe like have a coffee with the city manager or something where people can come in and then talk to the city manager.
It's so helpful and it's awesome.
Yeah, maybe once a month or after 6 months or something like that.
Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So you completed your paralegal school here at the UVA while you're building your career, because I believe you're working as your...
I was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is really challenging most of the times. So how did this contribute to... How did your education help shape the profession that you are in right now?
So a little background, it was extra difficult because I was working in Sierra Vista at the time, which is about an hour and 15 minutes away from here. So every Friday night I would pack up and I would come to Tucson for our all-day classes on Saturdays and Sundays for just about a year. So I really want to know the entire life cycle of something that I'm doing. So I was always on the other side of the bench. I always sat next to the judge. So I saw how everything went and worked behind the scenes. But I wanted to know how the attorneys worked, and I wanted to know how that stuff got to me and why that stuff got to me. So I'm not going to go to law school. That was not on my radar.
Yeah.
But to me, the next best thing was going to paralegal school to learn how they had to write those memos and those motions and all those different things that come through. How does that side work? Because I tell staff this all the time, the more you know, the better you're going to be. So even if it's not something that deals with your job on a daily basis, you need to learn both sides, right? So learning both sides really helped me shape my career in a way that knowledge was power at the end of the day. And I was able to sit down and say, no, I know how it works from a private side, but I also know how it works over here. So if they don't do it the right way, I can't do it the right way, and vice versa. So it was allowed me to get in front of staff and tell them and really encourage them to educate themselves, either through unorthodox ways, not going to college and just doing your own research for fun, or enrolling in school or going to what I did as a certification class here at the U of A. So
I think that was a smart idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I just think like, why will you be handling cases or things that you're not understanding how how they even come to that stage? And if there is a mistake, how are you gonna better support the people who are in question? So I feel like when you understand that you it's a win-win.
Exactly.
Way. So it helps your job better, but it also supports like other people who are coming to seek those guidance. So
Yes.
Also, you worked Monday through Friday, and then you go to school Saturday and Sunday.
I did.
How do you manage deadlines and time?
With the reading.
I was 24 years old, so it was easy, right? I felt like I struggled, and I think that had to do with starting early and doing.
You had the experience.
I was already working, but the school stuff the scheduling came very simple to me. But I was young and full of energy, and I never felt like it got in the way, I was lucky, right? But I was very fortunate. If I had to do it now, I'd be very tired. Let me just put that out there. So,
did you have personal time all those times? Because right now I go to school Monday to Friday. I still don't have personal time.
Since it was so jam-packed in those 2 days on Saturdays and Sundays, and we had such a small cohort, we really became friends. We would get done with class and be like, we need to go to dinner or we need to just decompress. And then when I was here, I did stay with my family. So when I would get home from school, it was like family evening, so I always had some connection there.
That's beautiful. So you've mentioned a little bit about people's management, but I wanted to know what leadership lessons have you learned so far managing the huge amount of staff that you manage? Yeah, so I think it's okay to make a mistake. And in our world, everything can be fixed. Especially at the clerk's office. I mean, we have ways to amend things, and we have ways to fix any sort of error that occurs. But I don't want to rely on that either. Okay. I want to be able to encourage everyone to do the right thing at the end of the day. But I think really we sit back and are afraid to make those mistakes, right? But we can always go back to the way we used to do it. So it's okay to be forward thinking. It's okay to innovate and introduce new ideas, but don't be afraid, because we'll just go back to the way we did it if it didn't work, right? So that's where I'm at, and don't be afraid to say no. I have been a people pleaser my entire life and in my entire career, but as I build the career through these management roles, I've had to learn to say no, and that was probably the hardest thing for me. But saying no has to be weighed with, how is this going to affect the office? Or how is this going to affect the majority that I'm dealing with? Yes. So that has been a big thing for me. And I teach a class on empathy, and I always tell them, I now understand why, kind of higher ups in management roles have couches in their office, because they need to sit down and they need to think, right? They're not taking naps. They just need to have a minute. And that's, I guess, my other thing too, is take the time to think it through. Don't make a hasty decision just because you want to please that person that's asking you these questions. That's okay. I need a minute. Let me think on this. I'll get back to you. And then set that deadline and follow through and meet that deadline too. So that's really my philosophy, is just, it's okay. It'll be fine. We'll fix it and we'll revert if we have to. But just one more question on decision making. Has there ever been a time where you wanted to make a decision? It was a hard decision, but like you struggled to get support from your team, and how did you manage that?
So I have a wonderful group of advisors in my executive team. We the appointments that I've made and I've kept that Mr. Harrison made, we all are really close knit and we think alike, but we think differently, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So usually the ideas that I kind of come up in my head, they all agree with it. Now implementation, that's where those advisory roles come in. Like, well, this is how we should do it, and this is how we should explain it to people. And I think that's a big thing for me is in my career as a whole, oftentimes I did not ever receive an explanation when a decision was made. So I told myself, you're going to get that explanation and that transparency that you deserve as an employee to understand the why behind all of this. So even if it's good and bad, I'm going to tell you, we're going to do this way because the county's mandated it, the state has mandated it, the Supreme Court told us we had to. I'm not just going to come in and say, do this and don't ask questions. I can't do that to them. I can't. They deserve, they're adults, they're human beings, they deserve the explanation. It's their daily life. They work here. They need to understand the why.
Those explanations give them a sense of belonging.
Yes.
Because if you're able to explain to me why you took this decision, then I'll feel like I matter. And I would want to even come to work every day because I know my boss would explain to me why he made those decisions.
Exactly. And I always try to encourage the people that it's going to affect the most. We will set time and space for them to offer their opinion. From the entry-level person working that front counter all the way up to the supervisor or director. If this decision is implemented or has to be implemented, what's the effect that you're gonna see? Yeah. And then we put those factors together, and then as an executive team, we'll then make a decision and implement it with the least amount of pain, so to speak.
Yeah. I was just kind of processing this, and I'm thinking in a way that if a decision is made like that where everybody has participated into it, no matter the cost or the effect of that decision, which comes with every decision, of course, either positive or negative, everybody feels like, oh, we are in this together. It's not just the director, it's not just the clerk, or so it's it's a collective group, not dividing the team, because when you make your own decisions and then implement them, if they didn't work out, people are I didn't make that decision.
Exactly.
That was him, that's how he thinks.
That's
but
not me. Yeah.
When you all do it together, it's one way of ensuring that everybody works on it and puts effort so that at the end of the day you achieve the goal that you're working on. Agreed.
And not everyone's going to be happy either.
Yeah,
and I think
at the end of the day,
you have to remember that.
Yeah.
But I go back to a callback to the majority, right? And then obviously how I'm really public service forward about how are we going to help the customer? Can this innovate and help? So as the employee, I want you to be empathetic and put yourself in the shoes of your customer. So don't be selfish here, but make sure you're making the right decision and offering the advice that I'm asking for based on both sides of the coin. So I'm always trying to be cognizant of customer interactions as well. So
I have a question on elections. Since you're seeking to be reelected for your office, how can the student comes in and support this process?
So right now, the biggest support that I think every candidate across the board is looking for right now is petition signature gathering, which this year was the first year that the Clerk of the Superior Court in the entire state, so there's 15 of us that are all running for re-election this year in the entire state. This was the first year that we were able to take part in the Secretary of State's eQual online petition signature portal. Yeah. So that has helped us tremendously. But I'm really using that to speak to young voters because it's easy. You can do it from your phone. I have a link. I'll send it to you. It's on all my social media. And that's another thing, segueing into that. Social media is a huge thing. People love Instagram. They love the reels. They love those things. I don't have a website because frankly, I didn't need one. My social media base has allowed me to get to where I need to be. So I was able to, save a little money, campaign funds on development of a website. But that interaction and a lot of my interaction on social media is with the younger voters. So I'm trying to make it easy because people are going to college Monday through Friday, right? People are doing things and they're just so busy to come to these events, or you may not be home if a door knocker is coming to you and asking for your signature. So how do we make it easy, and how does it speak to those young voters? So we've got online petitions, we've got social media, we've got Reels, we have TikTok, we have YouTube, we have all these different ways that I think if you just leverage and speak to them, it's easy for those voters to get out and do what we're asking them to do.
Yeah. One thing that I've just found like challenging at the moment is that a lot of young people, like I know they're really busy, but a lot of them may not know like the importance of voting when it comes to that end, because they're like, well, it's not affecting me right now. I'm not working for any office, and the majority of them, of course, are working in those entry-level jobs. So like, how can the student find value when it comes to voting? Not just one specific candidate, but like voting overall.
So I think really, if at this point in the election cycle, again, is that signature gathering. So we're really just asking for a signature to get on the ballot. You're not voting for anybody in particular. You're just allowing that person that space to talk to you and tell you what their values are, what they're about, and then signing that petition will allow them to get on the ballot. Now, if they're the only person running, I'll take my office for example. If I don't get enough signatures, I'm not on the ballot. So then we're at this moment, as we're speaking, I have no opposition. So then we're going to leave it up to the legislature or the governor's office to make that appointment for you. So at that point, when do you feel that your voice isn't heard? Because you've got people in Phoenix, and no shade to them at all, but we're allowing them to pick those people to be in these important roles at a local level. So that's what I try to tell people, is it's very important to get out, because you want to be the choice maker. You don't want somebody else to be the choice maker. So that's really what I try to tell people. I don't think anybody on the ballot right now is in that dire of a situation, but it's a potential, because if people don't sign and people don't engage, then you're not going to have an elected official of your choosing.
That's true. And also I look at it too, like when you just sign for something, usually your mind and your brain like will think critically in a way that you start to care about what's going on around you. But when you're like, I don't want to vote, I don't want to do this, sometimes like you're completely out of everything. But when you take a step, at least you've cared, like you've shown that, and you keep doing more research on that person. Like, why did I even sign this petition? Like, like, let me go do more research. And that's how you start to get involved over and over again. And you may find yourself, like, getting involved more. Yeah.
Agreed.
And then when you see the person you sign petition for get voted, you'll be expecting them to, like, deliver the things they promised to actually deliver.
Yeah, and so to me, I tell voters that that's twofold, right? Not only one, did you sign my petition and help me to get on the ballot, and then even some signers will say, give me your petitions, I'll take them around for you, because you connected on that level. But then you vote by mail, which is another easy way for students to do that, or go to the polls. I mean, I don't discriminate, just vote, please, any way you want. But also be sure to be part of that process, that secondary process where you voted and we won. So without you at the very beginning, this would not have been possible.
That's true. So many students here are really interested in public service, because a lot of people are doing the SBS and political science classes, and we really have a very big law school here as well. But like they aren't sure where to start from. So what advice would you give those students who really want to make a difference in their communities, not just by getting the degree done, but like how can they really start on?
So I think it's got to be something that really speaks to you, right? It's really easy to say, well, go volunteer, but if that's the case, that gets your name out there and that gets your face in the community. But volunteer for something that's meaningful to you, be it the food bank, be it at the hospital, something. But if you want to get into real like public service and the political side of things, it's always been advised that you either start at a kind of a lower level, where you're a committee precinct person within your district. So that gets you involved. You have to be elected to that position. You have to gather your signatures. You have to, and then you have to door knock and get those votes. And then you become kind of that representative for your precinct within your local city. And that person really is kind of the conduit between whatever party they are representing, and they attend meetings. It's all volunteer based, but it kind of gets you that experience, right? I was never a committee precinct person. Our rules and code of conduct prohibit us from doing that. Clerks, or court employees, so to speak. But that's a good start. Another great start that I have seen is to do local school boards. That's another volunteer position, but education is such an important and hot topic within the state and the nation that if you really want to try and make a change or make a difference in your community, it's always good to look down that avenue and start that, because on an election scale, it's smaller, so it's not so overwhelming. So that's always a good place to start. Or do like me and start as an entry-level person in an elected official's office and work your way up, you know?
So looking at your journey so far, what's that message you would like to share with students about believing in their potential and pursuing new opportunities?
So you really control your destiny and I believe that with every core in my being. I think coming from a small town, being almost 7 feet tall in a town of 5,000 people, everyone knew who I was, where I stood. You know, it was always James in the back of the class pictures. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 12 years old. That was really when I understood that I'm in control of my life. I am not going to let a disease control me, right? So I'm going to do something meaningful. At 12 years old, I had no idea, but I wanted to do something meaningful and give back. So I also have a rare genetic blood disorder that I have to keep track of. That was new kind of in my 30s and still navigating, but I don't let any of that control me. I am going to be in control of what I do and how I help people and how I engage with my community. It's hard sometimes. It's days, but I look back and say, use those things. If anyone listening has a disease or anything that might get in the way, seize that and use it as an education opportunity. Tell people and show people that it's not going to get in your way. And that's really helped me. You know, that's really been a solid foundation for me to say nothing's going to stop me. Now I have my days, don't get me wrong, but that's also helped in my decision-making process. I read recently in a scientific study, I can't remember the citation, but that a type 1 diabetic will make over 1,200 decisions before noon every day. How much insulin am I taking? How many carbs am I eating? What am I eating? When am I eating? Who's what, you know? So it's easy for me to make a decision, right? Because if I make the wrong one on my personal side, it could be life or death. And I'm not trying to be dramatic, but it really
That's
is.
the reality.
Yeah. So I think I've really leveraged that from a very early age. I am in control. Those setbacks are not. And that has gotten me to where I am right now.
Your story is so inspiring because there are a lot of people out there who, aside from health, just normal life challenges stop them from getting to their goals. And for you to be able to navigate through that path and you're here today, that's really inspiring. Yeah,
and you always have those kind of events like you're talking about. I lost my father. He passed away in 2010. So I was working and, still in Bisbee at the time. And that was a detrimental setback, right? I mean, nobody wants to lose a parent in their 20s. My sister was 14 years old. So I'm, trying to care and be that adult for her and be there for my mother. But I didn't let that get in the way either because he was a public school teacher for almost 30 years. He, before that, worked for the mining company in Morenci and was on the strike line when they had their major strike in 1983. So I'm not going to stop. He never stopped. So why would I? I need to be that champion that he was so many years ago for not only for striking steel workers on the line, but also those students that still reach out to me and talk to me about him and how excited they are to follow my journey since his ended so early. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah, it's quite sad but like you knowing that you're in control of your life and that no matter what happens in your life, you still have to stand and serve others. This is really beautiful, because most of the time, like when people go through challenges, they're like, maybe the universe has some issue with me, maybe they have a beef with me or something, and they shut down. They no longer like do those impactful things in the community. But here you are, still getting up every day and saying that I really have to do what I'm supposed to do.
And surrounding yourself with the right people is also there. Your tribe or your group or whatever you want to call it these days, is if you have those solid supportive people, family, friends, or in between, that also lifts you up and helps you. And I'm blessed to have a wonderful family and a chosen family as well. And I really am fortunate to have those sounding boards and those people to help me through those detrimental times. But I also can be kind of a workaholic when those things happen. Work is my escape when I don't want to, really deal with that stuff. But it only helps me go further.
Given that you've been working for over 20 years plus, and you have all this great number of years of experiences, what has been one of your most rewarding experience?
It's hard to say this sometimes because people look at me funny, but really COVID, when that happened, was and this is going to be odd to say, was a rewarding experience for me, because I, as a leader, was looked at way more intensely than I had ever been. I was a supervisor at the time. I had 8 people that did the good work every day. We still had people that owed fines and fees, that had to pay their fines and fees on a certain day. There were still those obligations that were out there. So during that time, the governor designated courts as an essential employment function. So we went to work every day. But it was so rewarding in the end, because I really saw that camaraderie come together. I really saw from sitting in my office, seeing them, even kind of, you've got a group of 8 people, some like each other a little bit, some really like each other, but they all came together and protected each other. Are you wearing your mask? Where do you need a new mask? Are you out? Do you need gloves? Do you need me to count your money? Do you need me to handle that customer? It showed that the humanity but behind it all, that really brought everyone together, including me. I would work the front counter just to give them a break, because they needed that. Go outside, get some fresh air, socially distance, of course. But it was so rewarding at the end of the day to watch how something so detrimental could bring a familial feel to people that they didn't understand that could happen, So it was so awesome to see that. But everything that came out of COVID was still very detrimental. But we found some silver linings, though.
Well, I'm glad you had a good time, because like everybody has a different experience. Of course, every situation in life has the positive and the negative impact. So it depends on how you say it and how you see the situation at hand and how you deal with it. But I'm glad like the whole team came together and worked as a family.
It was so great.
Because that was really like a hard time, whereby everybody has to look up to each other, because if not, then you may lose a lot of like people, and we
were such a small department, we couldn't really afford to lose somebody, and we were fortunate that we had I had a couple employees who were very sick, and we didn't know if they were ever going to come back. And that, taking away 2 people out of the 8 was detrimental to the operation, right? But it was really also like, has anyone talked to so-and-so? Has anyone heard from them? Yes, I did. And they said they're okay. And we're sending, DoorDash to make sure that they're, it was just these offerings of just help and humanity that was awesome to see as a group. And not only, I think, to keep the team together, to make sure the work got done, but also you're still my friend, right? You're my coworker. And I want to make sure you're going to be okay, because people are dying around us right now, and we don't want that to be you, right?
I mean, COVID was such a trying time, but like it gave almost everyone the opportunity to like sit back and think about how we're gonna manage this. We don't know when this is gonna end, but like we have to walk through this together.
It was something else. I will tell you, we had daily briefings and meetings. but I had to get really creative because people didn't want to be there. They didn't want to come to work. They didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So it was my job, along with my director, to make it a safe space for them. And was that getting masks? Was that reinforcing plexiglass? Was that just, we had to think about that stuff. We didn't want them to worry about that. So it was a good experience overall because it allowed us to be more forward thinking, but we had to do it so quickly, right?
What would be one of the skills, like if somebody wanna go work in your field or just in the law department overall, what would be one of the skills that they should be learning right now so they can be successful in the future?
That's funny you asked that because right now, what we did a few years ago, Pima County went through a compensation and classification study. So they engaged with a third-party vendor who came in and reclassified and analyzed all the positions in the entire county, but it allowed us at that point in time to restructure our internal classifications. So what I was an associate clerk at the time, but my advice and my suggestion was we need to be available to anyone at an entry level. So that's either high school or right out of college. So there's kind of two tracks now that the office at my office that you can take. We have a deputy court clerk 1, which is a very entry level job. They are tasked with a very important job, which is auditing any and all documents that are scanned into our system. So our documents go through the scanning process and they're given to that auditor, and they verify that the paper in front of them is immaculate on the screen for preservation. So that's what they're doing all day and every day. Super important, super needed, because in 100 years, those documents are still going to be available, right? But they need to be pretty, as I tell them. So that's one way. Right out of high school, come and see us, right? We're going to get you in at that Deputy 1. But we also have a structure, a Deputy 2, which you can promote in. That allows you to work that customer service window. So that's counting the money, dealing with those customers, those phone calls. A little bit more specialized, but very important as well. And then we have a Deputy 3, which is kind of the top before you get into that supervisory roles. So that Deputy 3 is very specialized. So you're doing we have one that does marriage licenses, returns, and recordation. So that's all they're doing because it's a little bit more attention getting than say the other two jobs, right? So that there's that aspect, right? We have another path where I started, which was the courtroom clerk area. So that's going to be the clerk that's in the courtroom next to the judge, taking the minutes, swearing in witnesses, keeping track of all the exhibits. That's an entry level. We've had people start right out of high school, but we've also had people get done with their bachelor's and master's degree and be like, I need a job, and I've got a poli-sci degree, or I've got business administration, or even pre-law. So we see a lot more recruitment from the courtroom clerk side. It pays just over $20 an hour. But it's still considered entry. So that takes a bit more skill when it comes to grammar, punctuation, formatting legal documents and pleadings. So it's a little higher of a specialization, but like I said, back to our original there's two real different tracks that you can take and really build your career now through those career paths.
That's very fun. One question struck to me, and it's about AI and new technologies. How have you been able to manage, as a county level, how have you been able to manage new technologies that have been coming in place to make your job maybe more easier or harder?
So we haven't really leveraged AI to its full extent at the office. Right now, I think people are just using it as create a flyer for me, or tighten up this email or something like that, just to reword things. We're part of a committee that the Supreme Court has set up on AI. So they're setting up guidelines and rules and different, you can use ChatGPT, but you can't use Gemma. And this is just an example. I'm not really sure which ones you can use. There's some you can, there's some you can't. So we're waiting for those guidelines to be really solid. But there are two strategic plans that I want to put into place during my career. And that's the AI versions to help those imaging people. So currently those documents will come to our imaging staff and they will hand type the titles in, and we call that a docket entry. So they're looking at the document. Well, there's AI technology out there. When you scan it, it will find that title and it'll put it where you want it. So and that can be run 24/7. So I know Maricopa County is running is testing it, and they're having good results from what I've been told. So that's one way. But on the courtroom clerk side, we have to type those minutes. So we're recording the session of court, taking our notes, going back to our desk, typing that, retyping it up to make it look in the format that is acceptable. But I know there's technology out there where we can take that recording and throw it into an AI, and then it'll do what we need it to do in the format that we're looking for. I'm big, you're going to keep your job. I'm going to leverage AI in a way that is not going to eliminate somebody's career. Yeah. I do not want to do that. Because I feel that even though we still need auditing, right? We still need a human.
Because even if you go through the AI format, it still needs somebody real to read through it.
And you need someone to actually put it in the AI.
Yes,
right?
exactly. It's not fully automated. So when I talk about AI, people I can see sit up straight and they get a little nervous. And I'm like, no. But even if I come across in the future to an AI solution that you need to implement this because it'll wipe out your workforce, I'm not doing that. That's just a personal, nope, I don't want it, find something else. So.
That's beautiful.
Well, thank you so much for sharing with us so much great information. So is there anything else you want to share with the students, maybe about voting or something about your office?
So the office is located downtown 110 West Congress. We are there for any of your needs. I'm not sure, every student has their own path going on right now. I see a lot of students coming in for name changes and passports. So if you're there and you see me around, please say something and say hello to me. I try to engage as much as I can, but I'm more than happy to take the time and actually speak and talk to you about that journey you guys are on. Also, the voting is amped up, so you are going to see people and ask for signatures, and I just implore everybody to take part in the process. It's been made so easy. The Secretary of State's office has a lot of resources for those petitions I was talking about. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. It's at James G, the number 4 clerk. So follow me. I am out and about in the community. I'm at different events. I'm promoting different local businesses and local partners. So I just look forward to meeting everybody, including the younger crowd, and showing them that the process is easier than what it's set out to be, right? So.
That's great. We're really happy and appreciate you coming down here because, you said, you're really a busy person. But you were able to come and share with us great insights. And one thing that I can tell from our conversations is that you're somebody who is ready to mentor and support the young people. Because from what I've seen, you understand what it means to start from from an entry-level position. A lot of people who are in position, but it's not like a bad thing or something, like they start from the higher top, which is not a bad thing because they come in with all those skills. Which is really great, but at times they really miss out a lot because they didn't go through the same experience.
Exactly.
No matter how, if you didn't go through the same experience, there's some way how you're going to miss out certain things.
And it's easier to get into those professional and executive roles when you already know the people, right? And they know who you are and what you bring to the table. And that's what I've been fortunate to have too. So we're happy to have you here in Tucson, and we hope that you'll continue to inspiring and empowering more students as well. Yes, I appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
Also, Wildcat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel or Spotify account. Thank you.